Hi, good morning. It's October, which means the Halloween girlies have been let loose, and I'm warning you right now, there will be Hocus Pocus propaganda trying to convince you that Hocus Pocus is the nostalgic Halloween movie, but you've been lied to. Okay, the true Halloween queen is Halloweentown, obviously. If no one else will say it, I'll say it. Halloweentown is better than Hocus Pocus. And you know why? Because I've never seen Hocus Pocus, and I'm not going to watch it. I just want to talk about Halloweentown. Fun fact, Halloweentown was the fourth Disney Channel original movie. So the movie starts and the music instantly takes me back. I love the Halloweentown theme, so I'm going to link it in the description so you can go listen to it. It's Halloween night and Marnie Piper is arguing with her mom to go with her friends to a costume party, but Mom Gwen says no, this is an anti-Halloween household. Marnie's friends try to convince her mom, like, in case you haven't noticed, Marnie's weird. She's a weirdo. She likes skeletons and witches and vampires. She spends math class drawing ghosts. It's weird. But Mom still says no. As if a melodramatic teenager isn't enough, Grandma Aggie's on her way. She arrives in town on a bus that offloads in the air so she can float down to the ground Mary Poppins style. She shows up to the house just before dinner, and Grandma and Marnie bond over Halloween trinkets while Dylan stresses out because Mom has turned him into a Halloween hater. After dinner, the kids head to get ready for bed, and Aggie tries to convince Gwen to move back home with the kids, but Gwen says no because she and the kids can have a normal life here, and Grandma Aggie says being normal is vastly overrated. And as Gwen says her piece, Debbie Reynolds is just reacting with her face. She's not doing too much, but she's doing so much, and it's so funny. Grandma tells the kids a story about Halloweentown and gets one word away from telling Marnie that she's a witch before Mom interrupts so that Aggie doesn't miss her bus, because the next one won't come for a while. They argue in the kitchen over Marnie losing her powers if she doesn't start her training that night, but Aggie also mentions that she's worried about her neighbors turning hateful and disappearing, and she wants Gwen's help to stop Halloweentown from returning to the dark times. Again, Mom says no, but Marnie overheard everything and she recaps to Dylan before sneaking out to follow Grandma back to Halloweentown to start her training. Dylan tags along because he won't be able to fall asleep until he proves to himself that Marnie is crazy. They sneak onto the bus, and while they're surrounded by monsters and witches, Dylan is trying to come up with a logical explanation for everything he's been seeing. The Halloween denial is so strong in him that when he sees Aggie's bag moving on its own, he thinks it must be remote controlled. And when he sees an actual Frankenstein monster, he says they must be coming from a costume party, as they're on a bus that is flying between two worlds. Aggie gets off the bus and runs into a very friendly friend, but I bet she won't be friendly for long. The kids get off the bus and, surprise, Sophie stuck along too. They meet Mayor Calabar, who calls Benny, the skeleton taxi driver, to give the kids a ride to Aggie's house. Benny warns Marnie about hanging out with Luke, who's been going around talking about a shadow creature, which Benny laughs at, like he doesn't believe anything about a shadow creature. In this world, with trolls and monsters and witches and warlocks and ghosts, the talking skeleton thinks that a shadow creature is laughable. Okay, guy, whatever. Aggie senses the kids coming and meets them at the door, and then in her witch's glass, she shows them the darkness that's yet to come and heads back into the kitchen, where she pulls out Merlin's talisman and fills it with her witch's brew to ward off darkness. She says a spell over it, but it only flickers and doesn't stay lit. That's what she gets for using instant witch's brew. To make a new batch from scratch, they need to head into town for the ingredients, but Aggie warns the kids not to let anybody know what they're up to because she doesn't know who she can trust. As she shows the kids around Halloweentown, she bumps into friendly neighbor Harriet, who is completely changed, hissing and hateful, even though she was fine just hours ago. Aggie tells Mayor Calabar, as she has been telling him, and he tells her that she's onto something, but it's dangerous, so he urges her to leave it alone. But she's firm in her concern, so he says to give him 2 days. Marnie heads across the street to look at brooms, and Luke shows up. He's something of a big cheese around here, but he absolutely fumbles when Marnie tells him off. He kind of threatens them by saying if they were smart, they would be nice to him because he's friends with some very powerful creatures around here. And I feel like this comment should raise more concern, like, who is this kid hanging out with? Aggie and Marnie take her new broom for a ride, and when they land, Mom shows up demanding that the kids get back on the bus so they can go home. Marnie refuses to go, but Mom puts her foot down and grounds her, so I guess that's that. Except not really, because the next bus isn't for who knows how long. And while they're waiting, Marnie runs off to follow Grandma and Luke, as Luke is taking Aggie to the theater to meet the shadow creature that he's been working for. Aggie sees all of her missing neighbors frozen in the theater seats as the shadow creature shows up demanding Merlin's talisman. When Aggie doesn't hand it over, he tries to freeze her, but Mom shows up and protects Aggie by getting frozen instead, and then Aggie gets frozen anyway. The kids escape the theater and head into town to find the ingredients for the witch's brew. First, hair of a werewolf from a werewolf hairdresser, which they get by distracting him and shaving off a patch of hair on the back of his head. Like, that's so rude. Then, sweat of a ghost from a guy trapped in a sweatbox that Sophie actually enrages when she grabs a towel and pretends to be a ghost while Marnie collects a drop of sweat in a vial that just happens to be sitting around the sauna. How lucky for them. And then finally, a vampire's fang by just going to a dentist and stealing it. They head back to their grandma's house, and Marnie combines all the ingredients for the witch's brew and fills the talisman but can't remember the spell. Good thing Sophie made it into a song. They recite the spell together and light the talisman, and Marnie realizes that it needs to be installed in the giant pumpkin in town. But Luke stops her from walking into a trap as the shadow creature shows up and tells the folks of Halloweentown that he can return them to their days of glory, ending their exile from the mortal world, which the humans stole from them. But I'm pretty sure everyone likes it in Halloweentown, like they're happy here. He reveals himself as Mayor Calabar and says the citizens of Halloweentown can join him and reclaim the mortal world, and honestly, nobody seems to be interested in that. He spots Marnie's cloak in the crowd, but it's just Luke as a diversion, and Calabar looks over just as Marnie is about to install the talisman. And then this adult warlock shoots his freeze powers at the 13-year-old girl hunched over a giant pumpkin and turns to the town people and says, "You see, my friends, the power of evil is stronger than good. No, you're just literally an adult man, and she just learned that witches were real like 4 hours ago." And he's not stronger anyways because Marnie powers through and manages to drop the talisman into place. Its bright light shines through the portal and wakes up everyone in the theater, and everyone in the town square kind of dances and cheers. I don't know why they're actual dancing. Mom and Grandma catch up with the kids, and Gwen confronts Calabar, who of course is bitter because she married a human instead of him. What a loser. He summons the talisman from the pumpkin, and as he's going on about his evil plan again and still, the kids realize that Dylan has powers too. The kids have their little moment of Dylan's powers tingling in his fingers, while Calabar in the background is like, "Evil will spread like a dark shadow and I will rule the darkness," just rambling on and on about his dumb plan that nobody cares about and isn't listening to. The family comes together and combines all their powers to trap Calabar in the talisman, and again, all the townspeople start celebrating and hugging, as if they weren't just chilling while the family took care of business. Why is everyone in Halloweentown useless? Marnie catches up with Luke, whose makeover got reset, but it's okay because he's handsome in his heroism. Gwen offers for Aggie to come live with them, which doesn't seem like what she would want since she originally offered for Gwen to move back to Halloweentown, but I guess she changed her mind because the family gets on the bus and heads back home, and they live happily ever after until Halloweentown 2, Calabar's Revenge. And oh my god, I spelled Calabar wrong this whole script. It wasn't until I looked up the title for this sentence that I saw how it was really spelled. So I guess I'll go watch that now. Why is Luke driving the bus? Isn't he still a kid? I know he looks like that again, but I thought he was Marnie's age, and Marnie is 13. Why is this teenager driving a bus? I know Aggie said she had a job for him. I didn't think she meant driving a motor vehicle between worlds.